Welcome back, everyone. Today we are in historic Fellsmere, Florida, and I'm standing in front of the Marsh Landing restaurant, which began life in 1924 as the Fellsmere Estates Corporation. It was here that land was sold in that boomtown then known as Fellsmere. It stayed open for a few years and then closed, later reopening to become the home of Fellsmere Sugar, or Fellsmere Crystals as it's more commonly known, later to be known as Florida Sugar. It stayed that way until the late 1950s, early 1960s, when the company went out of business. This building later became the home of the Fellsmere City Council and also the police department. After that, it became a haunted house for a local civic organization during their Halloween festival. Then the building sat abandoned for many, many years until 1995, when Indian River County Commissioner Fran Adams bought it. In 2002, when the renovations were completed, it became the Marsh Landing restaurant that you see before me today. But during the renovation is when things began to happen that nobody expected. Fran Adams, community leader, businesswoman, former county commissioner, we're here in your beautiful building, the Marsh Landing restaurant. When did you get this building? Tell me what your plans were. Why did you buy it?
Well, you know, for as long as I've been here, this building was here, but it was always boarded up. It was in terrible shape. And then one day, the city decided they weren't going to sell it. They were going to bulldoze it. And they were going to pay somebody to do that and haul it away. I was aghast because I knew the history of the building and the fact this was the building that sold all the land around here back in the early 1900s, and in fact Nelson Fell came in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and made all of the ditches which drained the land because it was actually underwater. So I talked the city into putting it on the auction block, and somebody would buy it and just require them to restore it and put it back on the tax roll. It would be much better for the city. So they hem-hawed and they decided to do it. And I'm thinking, you know, we really need to bring this back to life. This is a fabulous building. When this building was healthy, the city was healthy. So I started bidding on it. And we had such a crowd out there when it would get close and the auctioneer would say, going once, and somebody else would have the bid up, and going twice, and people would say, listen, we'll give you some money. We'll give you some money, just bid it, you gotta get it. So it was a lot of fun. It was like a party bid, and I bought it. And I'm thinking, what did I do? And I had to go home and tell my husband, I just bought this building, and you can lean on any part of it and the whole thing moves, but we're gonna fix it. So we actually restored this building, and it is just fabulous. The spirit in this building, the bones of this building were solid. We took every piece of wood out, we stored the wood, and we fed the wood back in as we restored it. And this is what we have.
But you said something really interesting. You talked about the old bones and the spirit of the town.
Oh, yes.
Very few places in Fellsmere actually hold the term spirit as dear as this place. You ever had any events happen here that might be of interest?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For many years, I would close at night. I'd be the late closer, so I would have to close up. And I'd make the final walk through the building after everybody had left, make sure the chairs are put up, the floors are clean, the bathrooms are clean, those things that you do as a manager of a restaurant. And many times when I'd come back into this dining room, it'd be quiet because we had all the lights off and we were closed at night. And numerous occasions, the first time I about had a heart attack, I saw this apparition go across the dining room, just across this. She was a stunning young lady in period dress from the 20s, and just sort of floated across like to that window over there. And the first time, like I say, I nearly had a heart attack. And she was not aggressive, she didn't say anything, nothing, but you could just, you know. And then several times, it was not every night, but several times I would see her. It would be the same thing. So it got to be where, you know, it was just like, okay, you know, I don't know where you're going, but you're going in circles apparently because you keep going every night. But, you know, it was just, and I realized, you know, she had some connection to this building. We really think it's Marion floating across there. So that was pretty fantastic. But I think one of the funniest experiences before we really realized who it was I had a painter that was redoing all our windows. So he would come in at night after we'd close and he'd sand these buildings. About 2:30 in the morning, I get this panicked call from Steve. Miss Fran, there's a woman looking at me out the window. And I had to say, Steve, he said, I got to go home and get a drink. I said, Steve, I said, it's okay. I think that's just the ghost. The ghost? Yeah, but she's okay. She doesn't hurt anything and she'll be gone. Oh, I'm too scared. So I said, well, so for the next 2 weeks, I had to come at night and sit with him and so he could finish because he was too scared to come along. But you know, it wasn't just me that saw her. It was him also. And he happened to be cleaning that same window where we used to see her go. We used to have a jukebox sitting over there by the frog room. And one night, in the middle of the night, the jukebox just kicked on. And at the same time, the motion detectors went off. So there went the police were called because the security, does everything. I was called. So we're all down here trying to figure out where, which one went off, see what. So as the police are coming in, checking, they got the guns drawn and they're coming through the dining room. Just as they get about 10 feet from this jukebox, it pops on. Well, about got the jukebox shot. But that was Marion again being mischievous. So that jukebox had to leave the next week because that's a dangerous thing to be doing. But we have had several incidences, and nobody's been hurt. They've been period dressed. They're all period dressed, which has been very interesting. Mm-hmm. So we know the building has good bones, good spirits, and they want to see it happy also.
Good bones and happy spirits, another legacy of the Marsh Landing Restaurant. Thank you, friend.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you.
So it was February 2017. We were having an event here in the Marsh Landing Restaurant. One of our guests was taking pictures here in the dining room, and she took 2 pictures down this way facing the women's restroom. The first picture was clear, just as you see it now. The second picture showed a figure leaning up against the door frame. Now, there was nobody in the restroom at that time. In fact, I took the surveillance video that goes down that hallway and checked it myself and found there was nobody in there at that time. Also, there was nobody in the entire group that fit the description of the person we saw in that doorway. We've dubbed her the Lady in Purple. Now, I took the camera and had it forensically examined. The examiner said that the photographs taken from that iPhone 6 were legit. There were no apps, there were no overlays. The pictures were taken by that camera 2 seconds apart. They wouldn't say it was a ghost, but they did say the pictures were legitimate. So what figure did we have in that doorway? We don't know, but it's one of the mysteries of here at the Marsh Landing Restaurant.
The SB11, it's more or less a sophisticated radio that scans frequencies, and what we're listening for is the white noise in between those frequencies that hopefully the spirits contact us and talk to us. And when we're doing that, we use sound canceling headphones, so the person that's listening while we're asking questions has no idea what the question is and just tells us what the words that they're hearing in their headphones. We're in the bar area of Marsh Landing. Sherry on the headphones with the SB11.
11:30.
Did you have money?
A rat.
What did you hear? Was it
Huh?
a rap?
I think it was a rat.
A rat.
Like that was just like, that got my attention, By the neck.
Did you choke someone?
About everything. Beat him. Going down there.
Going down where?
Larry. His name, believe me.
Is it the Larry that's in this building?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask who
who it is that would like to speak to me?
Ed?
Ed. Okay. I know a lot of Eds.
He's coming.
Okay. Let me know when he's here. I'm happy to talk with him.
Okay, I brought Larry here. He's here to talk to you.
Ed, are you here?
I'm there.
Okay. Is there meaning here with us in this room?
You? Watching?
Ed or Anthony, can you just do me a favor and see that little black device right here? Can you come put your hand or touch it for me? Can you do that for me?
Don't do that.
Here's a question that can help me a little bit. I know you want to chat with me, but are you actually in this room with us right now, or are you somewhere else?
Pick up.
Pick up, is that what you said?
Yeah.
All right, gang, we are back out at Marsh Landing for, I don't know how many times we've been out there before, but that place never does seem to disappoint, but out there again last weekend. So Spanky, can you kind of give us a rundown of the general stuff that we got, then we can get into the details?
Sure. We started out Marsh Landing in the kitchen area this time. We had seen things there before. You and I, shadow figures.
Right.
So we wanted to try to address those questions to who was there or anybody that was there.
So what did we get in particular there?
One of the questions was, do you appear like we do, like in human form? And like in a suit, or, you know, can we see you that way? And they said no. They actually said no to us.
Okay.
And so we kept on with the questions, and do you show yourself in the shadow form? And that's when we got a yes.
Now, how did we get the yes on the dowsing rods?
That was with the dowsing rods.
Okay.
And then a little later on, Nikki was asking his name, and he would not respond.
Okay.
It was mostly with the dowsing rods.
Okay, so we
didn't get anything with the SB11 ghost box.
Spirit box. Okay.
Spirit box.
Okay. What next?
And then we went over to the bar, the room, small corner room they have at Marsh Landing up front, and it's called the bar room. And that got kind of interesting with everybody. We were doing rods, and then we went to SB11 doing Estes method with Sherry again. And it's very interesting when the rods and the box correlate with each other.
And that's what we got that night.
And we got a lot of that in there. Some of the stuff we had was, I asked, Tina asked the question, are we interesting to you? Talking to the spirit that was there. And came out and said no.
That's off the spirit box.
Off the spirit box. Said
Okay.
no.
And that was a fairly quick response?
Yes.
Like an immediate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Immediate. And then I asked the question, you are interesting to us, would you rather talk to the ladies? And then it said, evening. So we were kind of like, what's going on here? And then later on, there's a thing about Marsh Landing when we have people go behind the bar.
Yeah.
Especially ladies. We've heard stories of hair being pulled, being touched, hearing voices when they go behind the bar.
We've had that problem for years with women going behind the bar, and whatever was there before just didn't like it, and let us know through various forms of equipment. Yeah, it's been a common issue.
Yeah. One of the questions was, do you have any money? And that's when Sherry kind of stopped, because it said a rat. And she said it was, well, you explain it because you remember that part.
Oh, that was, every once in a while you can get something very specific from a voice that you hear, whether it's a tone of voice or specifically male or female and that type of thing. And this was like really strange, almost kind of classic gangster sounding, definitely male, and it was like, a rat. 11:30.
Did you have money?
A rat.
And I always, whenever I hear anything, I think we all do on the spirit boxes, we try to recreate what we hear when we say it out loud for context. Or somebody will say that was a female or that was a male, and this was so very Jimmy Cagney.
Really?
So I don't know necessarily what it applied to, but it was a very interesting voice.
Well, it's amazing you mentioned that because that room for years, during many of the transitions of that building, it was the police department back there. So the fact that you mentioned Jimmy Cagney is interesting because there was a cell back there too.
Remember, Mark?
Larry, you kind of just took the words right out of my mouth when you mentioned that that room used to be a jail cell in the very early years. Of the many times I've been on investigations at the Marsh, the thing that sticks out in my mind most is the bar and the man behind the bar. I've come to learn, not only through the use of dowsing rods, but also flashlights at the same time, we've gotten the same answers from the man behind the bar, who doesn't like men. He doesn't like anybody to come behind the bar.
Or women in particular.
He seems to prefer scotch over any other kind of alcohol.
Yeah, we've had that.
So yes, the man behind the bar is very mysterious to us all, and we look forward to learning more about him.
All interesting. So we're still doing a lot of work to figure out who that gentleman is back there, but I think I've got an idea who it might be, and it's a former law enforcement officer in the area that maybe just didn't want to leave. So, Spank, what else have we got going in the bar?
A little bit more on the rat part. Next question I asked is, did someone rat you out? Sherry answered, come on.
And Sherry had the earphones on.
Yeah, and it was like, come on, like, yeah, of course.
How quickly did Sherry respond to that in relation to the question being asked?
I'll have to ask Candace because she was taking the notes at that time.
Yeah, it was pretty much immediate. We asked the question and Sherry came in and she was like, come on, like the way that he would have said it if you were asking him that question.
So the inflection was even the same.
Oh yeah.
Oh, very
yeah,
good.
Sherry's
Okay.
very good at that.
And then after that, a few more questions were asked. There was no answers. And then Tina came out with, I can make a pretty good margarita, which we all kind of were laughing, trying to get the spirit talking again. Mm-hmm. And Sherry came out with, stop.
Interesting.
Like, whoever was communicating with us was like, now you're playing with me kind of thing. Stop.
Now, once again, how quickly did the answer to that come?
Sherry's answers were almost immediate to the
Almost
questions.
immediate.
Yeah, there wasn't any real hesitation. So it was like real time answering the questions that we were asking.
Interesting. Okay.
That's really interesting because having been on listening to the SB11, I have no answer to any of these questions because I can't tell what's going on.
Yeah, you don't even understand.
I don't even know the questions that are being asked.
Right.
So, yeah.
But
And
go
if
ahead.
I may, what's really interesting is I love the fact that you jumped in with the question about, or the information about the margaritas, because a lot of times when we ask formal questions, sometimes it tends to be a little quiet, but when we just be ourselves and ask fun questions the way we would in normal conversation,
And
a lot of time it really does get it going.
And I think that's so
Nice
important, and
job.
it's a great thing that you guys all do, is you just are yourselves when you're talking. You watch a lot of shows and it's very formal, what's your name, very straightforward. But when we just act ourselves, we get some very interesting responses. And I think that goes to show that the other side is just hanging out with us also. It's not interrogation.
I think that's what it is it's more like we're having a conversation, it's more comfortable. They're not just sitting there, being asked all these questions, like who are these strangers and why are they talking to me like this? It's more like okay, maybe they'll be more comfortable with us since we're, comfortable in this situation.
Absolutely, I totally agree. What else we got, Spank?
But then it got a little different after that question. Tina asked, what do you want us to stop? Just, from what was answered.
Okay.
And it said, by the neck. Well, to go on with that, did you do something bad? Did you choke someone? I asked. And it said, about everything. Beat him.
Be him or beat him?
Beat him.
Beat him.
So
Interesting.
then it was like, okay,
Got darker.
now we're getting darker, and it sounded more like putting together a rat, beat him. This is somebody that was in that jail.
Now, these are the words that Sherry was giving us over the SB11.
Exactly. And then we went on with a few more questions that was not answered. But then, is there a reason you wanted Sherry back behind the bar? Was that your cell? Is there a cop back here with you? And it says, I'll take it. And that was after I asked, is there a cop back there with you? So is he, is there something happening between the police and this individual at the place? We don't know. And this is where it got interesting. Where would you like to go, I asked. And it said furniture. So we were like, furniture? What is going on? We're off the beaten path now. This has
Right.
got to be somebody else. And we asked, we don't understand what you're talking about. And it said, they do.
Once again, I got to go ahead, Tina.
And
That's when you came in. That's when it was asking for Larry.
That's when you had come and got to get me. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because we said, who's they? And it said Larry.
Larry.
And she said that plain as day.
Once
and it was
again-
right away.
Now, once again, you're reading off the notes, which I might add, thank you very much, Candace. It's your great handwriting in those notes that's allowing Spanky to take a look at them.
Your golden finger.
Your golden finger. So, how quickly did those answers come?
I remember
questions.
that part because that was right away.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I signaled to Tina to go get you.
Okay. So it says, who knows, Larry? How'd it go again?
And then Larry knows about the furniture. Then can you tell us his name? Believe me, it said. It said his name. Believe me.
It's okay. It said his name. Okay.
Yeah,
I
his
got
name.
you. I got you.
Believe me.
Okay.
And what would you like to do? Would you like me to get Larry? And it said, yep. You came in the room. That's when you arrived.
Okay.
And she said, Ed, he's coming. And then you said, Ed, are you here? And it said, I'm there.
I remember that.
You remember that part? Yeah. And then watching and parking.
Well, once again, I got to go back to you, Sherry. We're getting different answers that may not correlate to the questions at this point. Still a male voice? Were the voices consistent?
You mean, do I think it was the same person?
Yeah.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
It wasn't specific enough for me to be able to tell.
But you're sure it was a male? Okay.
And in the past, I have had experiences where you can tell it's the same,
sure.
and this was not clear.
Got it. Okay. Wow. So it was a busy time at the bar in the Marsh Landing.
And then an interesting question that you asked was, can you do something for me? Can you touch the REM pod?
Yeah.
And it said, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. It's like, I'm not touching any equipment. And that was interesting. And do you want to talk to me? Can you ask me a question? And it said, you are. Like, yeah, you are asking me questions. So
Yeah.
it was, you were having a good conversation there.
Interesting. And I find it intriguing that it asked for me and then, yep, him. I find that really, really interesting too.
Yeah. Is it the Larry that's in this building?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So, did we have anything else that went on that evening? Good session in the bar. Great job, Candace, getting this written down. Of course, we got it on film too. Anybody else have any specific experiences while we were there?
I had something small happen.
Okay.
Like we were talking earlier about the shadow that we were talking to
Right.
on the dowsing rods in the kitchen. At one point, when we were in the main dining area, I was watching the cameras that we had set up, and one of the cameras was pointing into the kitchen. And I could have sworn I saw a shadow move into the kitchen, into the office.
Right.
And Nikki and I went back and we did a live review of it, and there was nothing on the video.
And these
But-
are the static cameras we have
yeah,
set up. Right?
yeah, the cameras that are just rolling all the time. And we reviewed it and there was nothing there, but you know, there's the theory that not every experience that someone has is meant for everybody else. So like frequency of the video recording, maybe I did see it, but it wasn't picked up on the camera, because we can hear things with our ears and they're not picked up by the audio when we do like an EVP session or something. So, I mean, was something there? I can't say for sure. It wasn't on the video, but I'm fairly certain I saw a shadow back in the kitchen.
And you're 100% right. Frequency and vibration is a big factor in all of this. But it also shows, guys, why we have to go back and review the evidence, because the last thing we want to do is jump to conclusions on something we saw if we cannot actually enter it as evidence. So good job on that. Great job on this one. Looking forward to the next adventure. And until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll see you all on the other side.